Good morning to all of you. Uh, Respected Professor Dr. T.R. Subramania, Dean of this prestigious university, School of Law, Vice Principal Professor Pramswaran, aspiring law students, ladies and gentlemen. I studied law, began in 1955, and I appeared in Bombay Bar Council examination in 1957. Our principal was originally a lawyer, and he decided to become the principal of law school, which is now more than 125 years old school. He surprised all the Senate members when they learned that in examination, principal is allowing books to the lawyers. And there was a big uphill in the university. He was questioned, why do you give law books to the students in examination? And he said, when they are going to become lawyers, they are going to refer to law. They should know where the law is. And that is how law students gained popularity in the law school. Now, when I joined the bar, there were giants lawyers in the bars, and they were very, very learned lawyers, expert in cross-examination, and I was confused to join such a learned bar where I was just a beginner. Now the position is different. In our days, we went to law school just to pass the exam. But now in your law school, there are 5-year law students, 3-year law students, and they are given opportunities to have practical training. Gradually, I also learned tactics of lawyer. And I found that I am searching a position where there is no battling, where you can help parties to arrive at getting justice. And therefore, I was trying to search some opportunity where I can learn non-battling way of giving justice. And I got an opportunity in 1995 when Chief Justice of India joined and called an association, an institution from San Francisco, which was known as ISDL, Institute for Studies and Development of Legal Institutions. And I was asked by Chief Justice on the final day that they have submitted a report, a joint committee has submitted a report, and I would like to examine it because I feel that this report is more Americanized and how we can make it an Indianized. So I went to Delhi and studied the report, and in the meeting, I was asked to say how we can better introduce different systems of law available to the people. And there I got an opportunity to make a presentation. And then the whole report was required to be redrafted. And I was invited to USA with another retired judge of Gujarat High Court. And we there saw various institutions that lawyers were turning into the mediators. And they constituted and made organizations where 125 lawyers started a mediation institute. Therefore,
the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, the great-grandmother of tradition, our most valuable and most instructive materials in the history of man are treasured in India only. India, a land of a billion people, Of millions of gods and goddesses, and of sages, saints, sadhus, and swamis. And while India is a land of multiple experiences, the one word that describes India best is diversity. 28 states, 7 union territories, 602 districts and rivers that run across many states. Diversity in geography. Diversity in languages. Over 1600 languages and dialects. Currency printed in 15 languages. Diversity in clothing. Diversity in food. Spices that appeal to different parts of the body. Spices so diverse that there simply are not enough English words and adjectives to describe their tastes and experiences. India is a land where thousands of communities coexist with their diverse and unique customs, rituals, movements, and festivals. And yet, ancient India still continues to live in the pages of history as the birthplace of science, mathematics, astronomy, and the hub of culture and philosophy. Ancient India. Two small words that invokes millions of images. Art, craft, heritage. History, festivities, celebrations, culture, peace, unity, friendship, synchronization, love, emotions, feelings, sentiments that now lie buried deep within after 200 years of the imperial rule. And while the whole world is today talking about mediation, conciliation, and arbitration, it's time to rediscover the origin of these words. It's time for us to explore the timeless principles. It's time to relive ancient India, the creator of win-win situations. Mediation is all about wisdom. Mediation is all about reason. Mediation is all about prudence. Mediation is about India.
So friends, yeah, so we have to understand how mediation originated, in which country it originated, how it developed, how in good old days when there was a stone age, how people used to fight for their they fight they they believed that yeah, so the historical perspective and relevance of knowing how mediation evolved in the world. Ancient dispute resolution process was like in the Stone Age, might was right. All the strong people ruled the world. And then came the post-Vedic period. Then there were tribal customary practices. Also, India and China had different systems where justice could be given peacefully and without resorting to disputed way of finding solutions. Native Americans also had their own system. Aryans, early Aryans, were highly unsophisticated people. They were their joy of life, and they believed an unwritten law of divine wisdom, prudence, and reason, as we saw in the last movie which we saw. Their originating philosophy was wisdom, prudence, and reason. And you are amazed to know that now in the Western countries, they have recognized these three virtues for solving disputes: wisdom, prudence, and reason. They are the originating principles of mediation. Now, we have such a large country having different states, union territories, varied cultures, customs, languages, food habits, and religions. There was, in post-Vedic period, there was a Rishi by name Yagnavalkya. Rishi Yagnavalkya thought of helping people by resolving their disputes in a peaceful manner. So he opened an institution called Kula, where disputes of Kulas between family members, community tribes, castes and races used to go to Kula for resolving their disputes. Then another institute he opened was Shreni. It was a dispute. There he solved disputes between artisans following the same business. And the third institute he started was Puga. Puga resolved disputes between members of trading associations and branch of commerce. Gradually, the parishads, assemblies of people, of learned people who gave speeches and who helped people deciding their cases based on justice, equity, and good conscience. Then developed usages and customs approved by virtuous people and followed by the people. I had an opportunity to go to Nagaland. There were disputes between Nagaland and Assam for border problems. Supreme Court was to decide those cases, and they appointed mediators. I was one of the two co-mediators, and there we saw that Gaon Buras used to rush to the place where there was dispute, and they used to resolve the dispute on the spot. So in modern language, judges used to go to the place of offense and help them in solving. They were the law of customary law of the tribes was that if a fellow is held for a crime, he was dismembered from their groups, and he had to leave the group, leave his property, and go out of it. That was a big sanction for people to obey law. Then came Buddhism. Buddhism also laid down another principle which is now followed. And that principle was know what leads you to forward and what holds you back. This was one of the originating principles, that mediation looks at future and not past. Then there was another learned man, jurist Patanjali, and he said that instead of deciding who is right and who is wrong, let us share and cooperate. King's Court in Mughal period, there were two courts. King's courts, where rights and wrongs were decided. And there was King's Mediator's Court. Mediator's Court was ruled by Birbal. You know Birbal. Lot of stories about Birbal. He introduced creative remedies. He came out with brilliant solutions in an indirect method. So instead of finding direct methods of solving, you have to sometimes find indirect method. Now, indirect methods also require to go to indirect methods and find out creative remedies. There was a case in Birbal time where a diamond merchant, brilliant man, he had two sons, and he made his will. He always developed intellectual ideas in the minds of his two sons. So he said in his will that I had many jewels which I have distributed between them, but there is one big diamond which can't be divided into two. So I asked my executor to hold horse race between two of them. Each one of them had his own horse. And he said in the will that whosoever's horse comes second will get this diamond. The problem was that when the race was arranged, horses won't move because each one wanted his horse to come second. And therefore, race could not be held. And there came Birbal. And Birbal said, is there no way to hold the horse race? Why don't you swap your horses? So A got B's horse and B got A's horse. Then real race took place because everyone wanted his horse in raid by the other brother to come second. And therefore, the race took place. This is an indirect way of finding a solution. Now, foreigners have, Western people have a system called another way of finding out creative remedy. It is, now I call it a Birbal method. A Birbal method is an indirect method, and that is helping us so many times. Once I was traveling back from USA, and I had to change the flight on Rome airport. And when the flight was about 3 hours waiting period, it was announced that there is a strike on the airport and no flight can leave the airport. And there were many Indians who were in that flight, and they had to attend some marriage ceremonies, some conferences, and some important job which they were to be assigned. And therefore, there was a big hue and cry at the airport. And a few of us assembled together and we found out a way out. We requested them that please hold. They said, we can't do anything. There is nothing which will allow us to leave the flights. And so it occurred. And I said, sir, can you not prepone the flight? The strike was to begin at 1 o'clock. Can't we prepone the flight? And he said, oh, it's a good idea. And that's how everybody clapped, and then we could come back to India well in time. So these are some of the traits, and therefore gradually in India, they developed a method which called mid-arb, where their interests, needs and concerns were examined. And then arbitration was joined with it, and then an elderly family member would decide the case for them. So it was not actually a mediation, but the head of the family could decide the dispute. Then panchayats came, 5 wise men. It was again a conciliatory decision-making body. Gradually, informal decision-making process became more structured to keep peace and harmony in the society. to keep trade and commerce going. In USA, mediation started around 1960s, but that was not a mediation by court of law. It was community-based mediation. It was independent of legal system. Application of mediation was to neighborhood disputes, family disputes, interpersonal disputes, which were to be separated from legal bureaucracy. Cost benefits inspired insurance companies to resort to mediation. There was one principal of a university, Roscoe Pound, on 29th August, the dean of this university, Nebraska Law School, started thinking about alternatives and the causes of popular dissatisfaction in the administration of justice. Conflict was between individual spirit of common law and the collective spirit of the present age. And there was a breakthrough. He called a conference which was known as Pound Conference in 1976, where lawyers, jurists, educationists all thought of overcrowding cases in the courts. And there was prohibitive cost of litigation. At that time, he said there was alternatives which was needed. So Professor Sender of Harvard Law School thought of multi-door courthouse concept of fitting. He called it fitting forum for the fuss. In a courthouse, there were several doors. One door would provide justice according to legal system. Another was for arbitration. Third was for mediation, conciliation. And that's how alternatives were thought of and provided. So the word fitting forum for the fuss was liked by all. Then a thought arrived that when we are sick, we are thinking of alternatives. We go to the allopathy, we go to naturopathy, homeopathy, then our Ayurveda. So we thought of alternatives. When we want to travel, we try to go by bus, by car, on foot, or by train, or by plane. So nobody thought of alternatives for in a court of law. Everybody wanted to just go to the court, so that there was total jam-packed courthouses. And Indian scenario was that also in western part of our country, there were Mahajans. Mahajans in Western India were the senior business people who were more experienced. And the system of Mahajans was that anybody who would go to the court of law will be dismembered. And therefore, they used to go to the mediation center inside the association, where senior businessmen used to sit and help people solving there. But when East India Company came in India, they started colonizing India, and British system of law was introduced. In 1975 or 79, they introduced the Anglo-Saxon law in India. And their Civil Procedure Code 1879 onwards, and then gradually 1908 Civil Procedure Code introduced Section 89 for arbitration. So arbitration was introduced in Civil Procedure Code. When in 1940, when the Industrial Disputes Act came into force, and then 1940 Arbitration Act came into force. When Arbitration Act came into force, Section 89 was repealed. And then there was arbitration under the Arbitration Act. In 1889 was reintroduced when later on in 1999, Civil Procedure Code was amended. In 1987, Legal Services Authorities Act came into force, and 1996 Arbitration and Conciliation Act came into force. So basic form of mediation was conciliation. At that time, conciliation agreements were given status of law, an award of arbitrator. Then in 1999, when Civil Procedure Code was introduced, there was a big opposition. And therefore that amendment could not come into force. It came into force in 2002 when mediation was officially introduced in Section 89. And Section 89 became very important to start mediation activities in legal system itself. Then in 2002, National Commission introduced model rules of conduct in mediation. Thereafter, again, the Legal Services Authorities Act had already provided. Now, this is important for law students. They wanted, by that law, and imaginative provisions were introduced to encourage settlement of disputes by way of negotiation, arbitration, conciliation. And then research also started, and Bangalore Law School introduced village mediation in roundabout places. And that is how law students started participating in mediation. Now, what happened was that thereafter, India became commercially developed. With the independence of India, government corporations were introduced. And therefore, legal system needed more and more ways to find out solutions. So what happened, friends, that in 1995, the Chief Justice of India, Justice Hamadi, invited ISDLS, an institution from San Francisco, and that is how they thought of alternative. Dispute resolution process has two parts, adversarial part and non-adversarial part. Adversarial part is trial, arbitration. It's a very formal process. Non-adversarial, negotiation, mediation, conciliation, lok adalat. Now, the educatory system was coercive. There was due process of law, evaluative method, third-party control. People had to part with their decision-making power. And so a third party, namely judge, would decide their dispute. It looks at the past, what happened, who was at fault, and that fault-finding process started, focuses on facts, seeks to establish liability and fault. There is a winner and loser. Whereas the non-educatory system was voluntary. There was no due process of law, non-evaluative. Parties would control decision-making. It would look at the future, focus on relationships, seek to reconstruct and maintain relationship. It was accommodative. Custom-made solutions were found, and parties played a very important role. Now, what happened was, there is a Japanese proverb that if your tool is hammer, you will always see every problem as a nail. And therefore, any dispute go to court of law. And with the result that there was jam-packed courthouses. There was inflow, more inflow, less outflow. And therefore, slowly and slowly, matters came out of the court proceedings. And there was a jam-packed traffic jam. Very few cases would come out. And in such situation, the Parliament thought of alternative dispute resolution, and Section 89 was introduced. Some cases would go to arbitration, some cases would go to mediation, lok adalat, conciliation, and some important cases remained with the court. So in this situation, friends, we have to see that mediation started coming wholeheartedly, full-fledgedly in our mediation. Now, people thought that you solve, when solution comes in mediation, how it becomes enforceable. So law mandates mediation and courts encourage mediation and endorse it. And that's how court annex mediation centers were started. First, it was started in Chennai, Madras, then it came Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bombay, all the places. Gradually mediation started as a branch of law, as a branch of court, and there mediation used to be, services were provided by mediation center. And in this mediation center, they had prepared a panel of mediators. Now those mediators were trained mediators. MCPC of Supreme Court evolved a model manual for mediation. And this 42 hours training program is the base of mediation training in India. And your institution also will gradually start mediation training, where in Bangalore itself, there are a number of good mediators, good mediation trainers, and they are regularly. Karnataka is one of the best organized system for mediation. The law mandates mediation, court encourages mediation, and therefore now mediation has become acceptable. Now, what are the advantages? Why mediation? Though mediation, in mediation, a party can communicate with each other. Parties, two parties, they are fighting, they are having disputes, they have stopped talking with each other. There is no way to meet together and talk out their differences, where mediation now provides a place where disputants can go and start communicating with each other. How they communicate depends upon ability of mediator to make them agree to communicate, and that procedure itself gives great importance to training in mediation. They start talking with each other, that place, common place, in presence of a mediator. The mediator party can communicate in his presence in the real sense. They initially fight, they exchange hard words, they exhibit angers, their frustrations, and mediator allows it so that they empty out their feelings and their heart becomes free to take new things. That is how mediation helps in developing. It's an informal process. There is confidential process. This is a simple process. There are no rules of procedure, except mediator tells them that, look, we are going to meet together. We are common three people. We jointly have to solve the problems. And therefore they start talking informally. And atmosphere is informal. And that is how mediation is taking shape. One thing in mediation is that parties, if they don't like mediation, if they don't approve the conduct of the mediator, they can walk out. They are not compelled to sit there. There is no binding presence required. And therefore, it gives them freedom to go to mediation. It is a very cost-effective method. There is no such expenses as it happens in law court. There is no stress and there is less expensive. But this is important in mediation. Look here, what are the alternatives found out with the help of the mediator? Parties themselves try to find out alternatives, and therefore they look at the future. What is the position today? They don't go in the past to dig out how their differences started and how they hated each other. So gradually they go look at the future, and that is how that thought process has changed. It brings out strength of your case and weaknesses of your case, and restores the relationship, improving their future. And this search for something more than what they wanted. We'll examine a few cases. I would invite you to a dispute between a builder, a very large builder, huge. He had huge facilities, and they were very well-known builders. And they entered into a contract with an estate owner. That estate owner wanted to build large, small offices of people. And for that, they arrived at a contract. Contract was finalized. And at the 11th hour, when it was to be signed, the estate broker said, I want a penalty clause. You will have to pay high penalty if you don't finish these buildings within time. The builder was surprised because contract was almost finalized. At the 11th hour, this impasse was created. He had three alternatives. He would say, all right, I agree and sign the contract. Or he can say no contract at all. Or he would negotiate reducing the compensation penalty clause. But that was not enough. The builder saw an opportunity in the opposition, that this opposition is offering me an opportunity. So he said, let us work out something. I'm prepared to pay you penalty even more than what you wanted. But if I finish the building within time, will you pay me bonus? So a value was added in the dispute. The estate holder wanted buildings to be completed because he had entered into contracts with other people and he would have to pay the penalties. So he was interested in early thing. And therefore, this builder saw opportunity. He proposed that, all right, whatever you have proposed, I'll pay you more if I fail to finish, but then you'll have to pay me bonus. And the estate broker immediately agreed because his interest was early completion of the process. So friends, this is how values are added in the dispute by negotiation. And in negotiation, people try to follow creative remedies. They come out with creative remedies. These are some of the aspects which are very important for negotiation, because negotiation is not something stressful nowadays. But most of the people saw negotiation is a stress. They think a lot in the morning. We have to go at 10 o'clock to negotiate a deal. What is going to happen, I don't know. No preparation, nothing. But then gradually, negotiation is the mother of mediation. And in mediation, a lot of things is learned into negotiation, the process of negotiation. And that's how both the parties also try to input their abilities to negotiate by solid preparations. And the mediator also helps them in negotiation. Therefore, it is not only negotiation important, but communication is also important. And that is another subject to introduce mediation, because what a litigant wants to three things. A litigation wants substance to develop. Substance means his interest, his priorities, his needs. All these have to be taken care of if there is a substance in the negotiation technique. Does he get that advantage in a court of law? People talk of interest in the court of law. They only want to establish their right. I am right and you are wrong. Instead, you think of your interest, you think of other side's interest. If you give them their interest, you get your interest. If you give something, you get something more. And that is why mediation process is leading you to creative remedies, finding solutions which were never thought of before. And parties go home with friendship and good health. And another important thing, they learn that if you fight, you get nothing. If you sit and talk together, both of you get something more. And that is how, friends, it is desirable to go to mediation. Disputants need to be satisfied about substance of their dispute. They want to be satisfied about the procedure, and they must be satisfied about their emotional needs. Now, what happens? Does the process satisfy the need, priority, and objective or interest? Do they decide? Who decides? They want the procedural advantage. How decides? And when decides? Ask these three questions when you think of Anglo-Saxon system of law. Their decision is parted with your important decision. You own in life, every decision is taken by you. But when there is a dispute, you part with your decision-making power. Then third party decides. And when decides, we don't know. I am presently conducting one of the cases of 1978. Think of it. In inheritance, you give the litigation. Their emotional needs, was he heard? Was he understood? Was he treated with respect? Did he feel safe in the court? And were there personal attacks? Or was the proceeding confidential? All these questions lead us to mediation. In a court of law, disputes increase, enmity increase. You fight for winning, and you don't really win because there is still appeal, and there is again second appeal, and then again remands, and then again trial of certain points. All this lead you nowhere. And therefore, ancestral thought that think about future, think about relationship, think about cooperation, think of solving together by joint efforts. Therefore, friends, we have to look towards solutions. Up till now, law institutions were preparing lawyers, but now lawyers also resort to mediation. So mediation law is different. That is your technique of finding out interests, communication techniques, then negotiation techniques, all this. And it is a life training according to me. So if you take mediation training, you will be preparing for your life. And after you finish your law, you will be entering the life university. And you will certainly find at the end of that training that you have learned how to behave in the family, how to get cooperation in the family, in the community. I last quote an example of my own problem in the beginning. My wife was a professor of Sanskrit language in the college, and she was also quite learned. One fine day, we started arguments with each other, and gradually arguments took a bad turn. She was angry, I was angry. Then we started oral fights, and then we said, I don't want to talk with you. Unfortunately, my two children were present when they saw us fighting. They went to bed at night and they talked, my son and my daughter. Son was 12, daughter was 10. And they thought that tomorrow our parents will separate. When I woke up and went to my office, which was in my home only, I saw a note from my son. He said, "Dear Papa, what happened yesterday was not good. You were right, Mummy was wrong, but your reaction was out of proportion. It made me brought down to the earth." So there was a mediator in my family. And these were the events which helped me in taking a turn in my career. So friends, these are some of the topics I had to share with you. A time will come when you will be taught mediation by experts available in Bangalore itself. Karnataka Mediation Center has a lot of trainers. Some of them are excellent. They are traveling all over India, and take their help and join in this training, which is a life's training itself. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You are so nice to listen to me. I had not enough time to develop these ideas further, but sure, when a training session comes, you will learn more and more of mediation, and you will become a good mediator, which is a coming opportunity for all of us. And then we'll be able to gain popularity, help people really in bringing peace and tranquility in our society. Thank you very much. At the end, thank you all. I thank Vidyaji. She was very keen to talk with me. She was planning this program so well, and I am owing a duty to thank her for all the opportunities she gave me, discussions she had with me, and I also learned more by coming here amongst all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was a very precise and a relevant lecture. And I'm sure everyone in this session has taken this as an opportunity to gain adequate knowledge regarding the promises and challenges of mediation. Now, the floor is open for the question and answer session. I request you all to kindly put your questions in the chat box, and Shana will be reading it out for us.
The first question is from Saima Mir. Her question is, are mediators bound by professional code of conduct?
Of course, there is a special code of conduct in mediation. In this limited time, I could not present to you, but confidence is most important. A mediator has to build trust and confidence in himself. The procedure is also confidential. Whatever transpires in mediation cannot be disclosed either by the mediator or by the parties. And court of law cannot compel you by asking questions as to what happened in mediation. Who was right? If mediation has not been successful in arriving at an agreement, court cannot ask you who was at fault, why it didn't happen. So it's a confidential process. It is have a moral effect. The mediator will not be able to decide. Mediator will not be able to advise that do this and do that, because it is a party-centered process. And mediator has to encourage parties to coin alternatives for solution. If there are many alternatives, solution becomes easier, and you do trade solution better. Therefore, be sure that mediation is a confidential process. It has moral background, and mediator also will never take up as a lawyer the case if he has mediated the case. He can't be the lawyer for the parties. So these are some of the basic rules of conduct in mediation. We can elaborate it for hours together, and we can cite examples where mediators were required to not disclose things in the court. And now Supreme Court has also developed a system that if mediation is not successful in arriving at an agreement, mediator will only report to the court that parties could not settle this matter in one sentence. They can't give reasons why it was not settled. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Rahul Hussain. His question is, could you cite more examples of creative solutions like the story horse race switch from the Bible story?
Yeah, you know, we usually quote lot of instances. You must have heard the story of 17 camels, probably. A father had 3 sons. The eldest one joined him in his business for several years. Then second one was born. So he had less number of years in the business. And the third one, young man, was quite revolting. He says, I will have my own business. So the owner wrote a will, and in will said that if I die, I have a battalion of camels, and my eldest son will get 1/2 of them. The second one will get 1/6 of them. And the third one is a revolting one, so he will get 1/9 of them. So executor was assigned the job of dividing or giving the camels to their respective 3 sons. And they found out that there were 17 camels. How will you give 1/2 of it to the eldest? How will you give 1/6 to the second one and 1/9 to the third one? So it was again a stalemate position. But the executor was also a mediator. And he said, can I add my camel to it? Then there were 18 camels. So half was 9, 1/3 was 6, and 1/9 was 2. So the 17 camels, 9 plus 6 plus 2. And he took back his own and solved the problem. This was a creative remedy. There are many such instances happening. And I remember in Delhi High Court, there is a beautiful mediation center. And one gentleman lawyer is a mediator. And he keeps on the table Bible, Gita, Quran, and different things on the table. Depending upon which types of clients the customers, the disputants go to him, he will put forward that religious. And then there was a case of 2 brothers. One was elder brother, 20 years older than the younger one. And he helped in raising the younger one. But when the younger one married, dispute started. And they were not on talking terms. Property was to be divided. And the elder brother would not agree to anything. So they came to the mediator. This gentleman mediator said, look, older brother is 20 years older than you. And you just go to him and bow down. We bow down elders. He says, nothing doing. He won't even look at him. And he said, if you don't do it, I will do it because he's older than me. So mediator goes to the elder brother and tries to bow down. The younger brother thought that when he does it, I should also do it. And he went there and he also bowed down. The elder brother started crying. He embraced him. He said, I was all the time waiting for you to recognize me as an elder brother. Now take the property, whatever you want, take it. That was sometimes, you have to see the people, how they behave. I was mediating one case in which there was a dance company head, and there was a lady who was engaged by him. Her duty was not only to direct presentations, but also to train dancers. And there was a dispute between them. And then dispute came to mediation. They were not looking at each other. They were not talking with each other. I started asking indirect questions. And one question I asked, where did you study? In a private session, when they are together, and then we also separate them one by one. I asked them a question, where did you study? He says, in such and such school. Look at this bag. I have got that symbol of my school. And the same symbol I saw on the dress of the lady dancers. Both belong to the same institution. And I started talking about that institution and their brotherly feeling, sisterly feeling, how they enjoyed when they met together. And these two things brought them nearer. And then both them started talking about their institution. And then she says, yes, do you remember what happened on that day? The lady said, I remember, but did you remember what that day when there was some trouble and both of us? And then they joined together and they brought together. We didn't talk of law. We didn't talk of disputes. We talked of indirect method of bringing them together. And then solution came. She was she rejoined in the institution. Extra duty was given, and they hail and hearty and enjoyed their life thereon. Such instances do come, number of them. If more time, we can certainly share number of them.
The next question is from Monusha Nambiar. Her question is, since the outcome of mediation process will not be binding, what happens when one of the two parties do not accept the same? If the same proceeds to litigation, does it not lose the value of mutual agreement?
Yes. Now see, there are two aspects. One is a court annex mediation center, and another is private mediation. In court annex mediation center, the mediator leads the parties to various alternatives, then they agree. When they agree, they and their lawyers are asked to examine that agreement. And that agreement, mediator asks questions, and we have to see that agreement is a wise agreement. Wise agreement is an agreement in which both sides get something. Both sides have a win-win situation. Then it has to be an efficient agreement. Mediation doesn't say just come at an agreement, any agreement. He has to examine whether agreement is wise agreement is efficient agreement maintains relationship between the parties. All this is to be examined by mediator. He's trained to do that. And then after checking everything, asking their lawyers and asking the litigants, are they satisfied? Then he takes their signature and then forwards it to the court. This is one way that when they agree after everything, they cannot turn around. That final agreement has to be, unless there is an allegation against the mediator, unless there is an allegation of fraud, unless there is an agreement of undue influence, in which case court will examine it when the agreement is presented to the court. And if the court finds that this is not a legal compromise, legal consent terms, court will not approve it. Court will find if there is fraud or undue influence, court will not allow it. Therefore, once mediator takes care to see that they are satisfied, they willingly sign it and they don't object. Now, in private mediation, today, private mediation agreement, there is no force of law, that agreement. So that agreement has to be converted into conciliation. Under agreement and under Arbitration and Conciliation Act, there is a provision that when before the arbitrator conciliation takes place and they sign it, it has the force of an award of the court. So private mediation has to be converted into conciliation under Arbitration and Conciliation Act. That is one way. But if there is no conciliation, no conversion of mediation into conciliation, that agreement is at present only you have to enforce that agreement by filing a suit. But now we have drafted, the Supreme Court appointed 10-member committee to draft exclusive mediation law. I was a part of that 10-member committee. I was a chairman of it. And that mediation law we have drafted, already handed over. Supreme Court Mediation Committee has approved it and it is pending for Parliament. Our law minister has said that in the winter session, probably that law will be passed. Once that law is passed, mediation agreement becomes enforceable at law and it has the force of law, and that will be a proper way of solution the problem. So mediation is now in the point of exploding like litigation. And therefore, you people, when you become lawyer, you will have one more opportunity ahead of you. And that opportunity is to become a mediator or become a mediation lawyer. So same mediation lawyer who was conducting a case appears before the mediator. So there is, initially there was opposition amongst lawyers that what happens to our bread and butter. But now those very lawyers become mediation lawyers. Therefore, there is another branch of law which can be resorted to.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir. The next question is from Trishalal Naidu. Are there any cases where we shouldn't consider mediation?
Yes. The cases where mediation should not be resorted to is a constitutional case. A case where the constitution is involved. Mediation has no power to make constitutional amendments by agreement. That is one thing. Secondly, in some cases, you want to decide the law. Where the law is to be decided, again, it won't go to the mediation. Sometimes people don't agree to go to mediation. So that is also possible. They can't be compelled to go there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Rishvi Parihar. Her question is, how do we resolve the constant fight between court proceedings versus ADR methods, since court proceedings have taken a major standing in the Indian legal system?
Yes, that is so true. I showed you that slide where there was congestion of cases in the court, because it is like your only tool is hammer. You hit at the nail. So any dispute go to court of law. But now the mediation is opening up, and court also can send the case to mediation center. Parties, court can compel them to go to mediation center, but cannot compel them to agree. Therefore, when they go to mediator, mediator has an ability to make them sit. There are two books. One is getting them to say yes, and getting past no is another book. Both these fantastic books have to be read. In your library, they would be there. Otherwise, Amazon can give you these two books. One is written by Professor Uri of law school, and another is written by another professor. His name I don't exactly remember. But there are 5,000 books written on mediation. Indian authors have also written several books, and they are coming out. Therefore, when there is too much of litigation, parties get fed up with the litigation. They give litigation in inheritance to their children. That happens. I've seen people. When I began my practice in 57, my senior was conducting a case of two brothers, both of them coming in Mercedes cars. Then the matter lasted long in trial court, high court. Again, it was sent back to the trial court for some undecided points. Again, it went to the high court, again went to the Supreme Court. And in 2010, when they came to the court, both of them were coming on their feet. They lost their wealth in litigation. The defendant was coming with his underwear, and plaintiff, though one, did not even have any clothes to wear. So these situations do happen, and people have come to know it. Some people lose their concentration. They became depressed. All are the results of negative value of life. So those people ultimately regret, and therefore very recently in a mediation, I invited grandchildren in mediation, and grandchildren had a modern thoughts, and they persuaded their parents to settle the matter. So you people are the hope for our country, and you people are going to change the legal system, and you have the opportunity to contribute in developing a new system of law. And your school is an outstanding, prestigious school where you will learn all this modern art of living, and your life will become much better than what our forefathers had their life. I'm sure you people are intending to learn a lot, and I enjoy meeting you people. Thank you.
The next question is again from Rishri Pariha. Her question is, how were the challenges regarding confidentiality of parties dealt with since e-mediation was prominent during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's little more difficult way of mediating it. But then in the beginning, the mediator in his opening statement take promises from the parties that you will not divulge confidentiality, you will not divulge what happened in mediation, and therefore it is a little delicate issue, because online mediation can be copied by somebody and can be used publicly. It can be, so that is likely to create some problems, and we'll have to invent new solutions to it. For that also you people can contribute, because you people are expert in online communication, which we are old guys are not that much experienced as you are. Take up a research cell in your university and start doing it. You will get a lot of people will start knowing you, that you have contributed something to our country.
So the next question is from Srinivas Yadav. Many say things we study in law school is totally different from what we work in court. Is it the same way in ADR system?
ADR system requires a lot of humanity in it, a lot of human values. If you have positive values in your life, you are likely to succeed as a mediator. But there are not always people having positive thoughts. So good mediator imbibes in them. That is called transformative mediation. A transformative mediation, you transform the personalities of the people. It happens. People joining in mediation many times change their attitudes, and they remember you. Even now, a few litigants who appeared in mediation before me and found solutions to their problems, on every Guru Purnima, they call us. So people are grateful people. If something good is done, they would like to spread that goodness in the society.
Thank you, sir.
But one thing is sure, don't think that mediation solves all the problems. I must be realistic. Many mediations don't come out with agreement, because that depends. Parties have vengeance. Parties want to hate people. Parties want to take revenge. Such people, it takes time to bring them to senses. And that mediation also sometimes takes many years. Usually mediation gets over in a day or two or a week or a month, but many mediations take longer duration also. And at the end of that longer duration, not necessarily that we always are successful in getting an agreement.
So the next question is from Sandeep Vijay. His question is, are there senior and junior mediation lawyers?
Yeah, always. Junior and seniors are there in law courts. They will be there in mediation also. On the contrary, younger people, you see, when we studied law and we practiced law, our brains were washed out for legal battle. You people have now started learning mediation, negotiation, communication. So you people have a better future. You will be better citizens than us.
So the last question is from Monica. Her question is, should mediation be provided in rape cases?
Excellent.
Rape cases. Should mediation?
Rape cases. No, their crimes against the nation and the society. Their chances of mediation are less, but recently a few cases have happened when ultimately they decided to marry. And sometimes Supreme Court has a vast power under Article 142. Nobody is to ask them, because if they think that justice requires to do something, they will do it. They are entitled to do it. But crime is difficult to be mediated if it is crime against the society. There are some cases developing in USA where they settle the crime cases also.
Oh, thank you, sir, for being so kind in answering the questions.
In fact,
And-
I would have preferred question answer session from the beginning, because you can't summarize this vast law in 1 hour.
Yes, sir. Now I would like to invite Shana to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shreya. I, Shana Stanley, on behalf of CMI University School of Legal Studies, consider it a great privilege to deliver this vote of thanks to all the people who were involved in making this webinar possible. This being the third lecture series under the Center of ADR in CMI University, we are grateful that the center has arranged for such lectures to keep the students and faculties informed with the latest developments and thereby become instrumental in contributing in furtherance to the alternate dispute resolution in the country. I first of all would like to thank our chief guest speaker, Honorable Senior Advocate, Mr. Niranjan Bhatt sir, who despite his busy schedule, found time to address the students of our college and answer their questions. So on a very personal note, I would say you've definitely lit the torch for me, also as an individual and everybody as listening in this lecture, to go in furtherance and study and get a deeper knowledge of understanding in mediation. Hopefully in the future, and like you said, since all of us are listening here today and are the future torchbearers and future lawyers and leaders of coming years, I hope we can instill the importance of such an alternate dispute resolution in furtherance and instill the importance of such mediation to the greater public. So I could most definitely say that we are very privileged to have you here, sir, and you have indeed put best of your effort to make this event unforgettable. We are highly obliged, so and we look forward to hear and learn from you in the future as well. I would also like to thank Honorable Chairman, CMR Group of Institutions, Sri K.C. Ramamurthy sir. I also thank all the university authorities, and I also thank respected Dean, Professor Dr. T.R. Subramania sir, who has supported the students in all their endeavors and his steadfast support for the program. I also thank our beloved Vice Principal, Professor Dr. V.J. Pranishwaran sir, and also Advocate Vidya Salomani ma'am for their endurance in arranging this webinar for students with great zeal so that our learning continues amid the pandemic and these trying times. I also thank all the faculties at CMI University School of Legal Studies for their presence and support. And last but not the least, all the fellow students who attended this webinar and helped it making a grand success. Thank you one and all.
I am also thankful to all of you, and keep on spreading your infectious smile to all.
Thank you, sir.
I, on behalf of CMI University School of Legal Studies, thank you all for joining us here today. I wish you all a pleasant day. Thank you.